Hello, my name is theciaellis, and this is a special edition of this Grandma's Life podcast. And I am not doing my normal introduction because this is something that I am videoing for my This Grandma's Life podcast YouTube channel. But I'm also going to do some editing on it and put it on Grandma's Homestead YouTube channel. So it's going to be on like 2 or 3 different places here. So I have spoken to you briefly about my interest in talking to you guys about, are you ready for the next Great Depression? And I've done some more thinking and talk and research, and so this is the introduction to the series that I want to do. I'm still going to be doing regular podcasts on this Grandma's Life podcast, and I'm also going to continue with my Grandma's Homestead, it's usual stuff too. But this is a special edition. It's going to be part of a special series, and just because this has been weighing on my mind and my heart for a very long time, and so I just want to kind of talk to you. This is just the introduction one, and to kind of get you prepared to what may be coming up with some of the other things along the line. So I guess what I want to start with is part of the reason is I want to give you a little bit of background of why I became what is considered a prepper in the first place. I'm not a true prepper. I don't have like the beans, bullets, and band-aids or anything like that. I do keep a pretty stocked pantry. I try to keep animals that on the farm that I can uh, that will reproduce and provide food for me and stuff. But as far as having a whole bunch of medical stuff, I don't have. I don't have all the Mylar bags full of food and everything like that, but I still consider myself a prepper in some form. And part of the reason was there's been several reasons, but I guess the catalyst is when my husband first got sick several years ago with depression. We had gotten down to mystery meat in the bottom of the freezer. And as I had already been a single mom previous to that, and struggling to make ends meet on many occasions. I already knew what I needed to do to keep food on the table between paydays, essentially. And I had started slacking because I was married to Tom, and when he got sick, and uh, I wasn't prepared, but I learned how to become prepared. So that's kind of a short version of why I became a prepper in the first place. And then over time, I expanded into homesteading. I This is land that we inherited from my husband's father. It's not great land. I love it out here. Don't get me wrong, but it is reclaimed coal pits. It's hard to grow things in it. It's not there's not a lot of topsoil. Basically, they strip mine for coal here, and then just basically bulldoze it over. And every once in a while, a big old pipe will heave up out of the ground. After a pretty good rain or something, and rocks, and it's just we find car parts sometimes or truck parts and stuff. So it's just not a wonderful place, but it was what I could start working on to become a homesteader for myself. This has been a rocky path too. We lived in a camper for years, and now I'm living in a trailer house that I'm trying to make into a home. But I became a homesteader because this well, for one thing, this land had my name on it, and I could make something of it. You're always told that any piece of land that you can get to work for you, that's what you need to do, and that's what I had decided I'm going to do. I was going to try to make this land work for me. Plus, I knew that I was not going to have the ability to invest in a whole bunch of you know bullets and band-aids and mylar bags and all that other stuff. So I needed to figure out a way to um, feed us in between time. So that's basically why I became a homesteader in a lot of ways too. I want a little bit of a historic view of homesteading and prepping. If you think about it, I mean, I was kind of looking into it. 40 years ago, there was no Wikipedia, there was no Google. And it says there was no Costco. Well, that in a lot of ways there were no real grocery stores that you could even go to. Well, no, 40 years ago there were grocery stores. Because I'm 61, we went to groceries and stores and stuff, but so never mind. But there was no GPS. There's no global positioning system, so you can't There's a lot of things you can't do without the global positioning system. There's no internet, and there were no smartphones. And think about all the stuff that we rely on now for that. 100 years ago, there were no fridges. There were no microwave ovens. There was no penicillin. They hadn't even discovered how to do penicillin yet to help people get over pretty nasty infections. There were no talkie movies, which means like the sound and the video wasn't together. And what they did is they just had people miming, pantomiming things with music in the background and writing underneath it so you could kind of figure out what was going on in it. So you think about it, that's kind of interesting too. Women were fighting for the right to vote 100 years ago. Um, they did have vehicles, cars that ran on gas, but it was kind of interesting. There were no basic gas stations, or there were very few. And what you did to buy your gas is you went to the pharmacy and bought a can of fuel for your car. I thought that was interesting when I was looking into that. And another thing that I had seen is 100 years ago, the people rationed their own food. When they went to the store, they bought less so they could make more, or it would provide more food for the soldiers who were fighting on World War I. So I just kind of want to give you a little bit of just a little bit of snippet of history of what we've been through in the last 100 years, how far we've come and stuff. And you go, well, why are you talking about the next Great Depression? Well, because just because we've come a long way doesn't mean that we can't have some major shortages and have some major difficulties in our lives that we need to prepare. We don't want to have our head in the sand and not be at least somewhat prepared to do the best we can to feed our families as we go through life. Because why do I believe that we need to be preparing for the next Great Depression? Well, okay, think about the global or the current political and global atmosphere right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, so they don't even talk about a lot of times the civil wars in Africa. They don't talk about different. Well, Poland's going through something right now, and Ukraine's been going on for a while, and there's been issues even in Europe whenever they had Brexit and everything, and now we've got the Israel thing going, and there's so much more that I've never even paid attention to, and I'm not even going to bring up because I just don't know. But if you think about it, what's even going on in our own country is I want to say frightening, but it's not frightening. I'm not frightened because I'm concerned. I am concerned. I am frequently amazed at some of the stupid stuff that we as a country are doing on so many levels. And so I can't trust anyone else to feed my family. I can't trust the government. I can't trust the church. And it's not that the church or anybody's bad on anything like that, but they're going to have their own problems. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And um, another reason I had gone into homesteading too was when you get to thinking about what the last Great Depression was. I mean, there was a mixture of the Dust Bowl. Oh my gosh, when I was looking into that, the dust storms were tremendous and terrible, terrible, terrible. And uh and I'll be perfectly honest, the way we do agriculture now, it's not out of the realm to consider that we might start having that kind of thing again, because I don't know how the wind is where you are, but in the spring and the summer, well, certainly the spring, and the wind is terrible here. I mean, it's very high and very strong. So I can't overlook the fact that we might have another dust bowl. So we have to think about that too. The last Great Depression lasted 10 years. 10 years. Think about how long, even if you consider yourself a prepper, how long will your dehydrated food last while you're eating it? I know it lasts for 25 years. I understand that. But are you going to try to stock up a whole bunch of dehydrated food and try to convince your family this is the best thing in the world to eat for 10 years? I don't know. So I don't, and this is the saying I'm stealing from somebody else's, I don't believe that if we go into another Great Depression, it's going to be a repeat of history, but it could rhyme in a variety of ways. So, uh, I was listening to Toolman Tim for he's got Toolman Tim talk radio. Uh, he's got a podcast, but that's what he calls his channel. And he likes to go back and do some history of prepping. And he likes to go back into the 60s and 70s or whatever and read some of this stuff. And one of the things he said the other day that I thought was pretty profound is, in the 70s, they thought that they were preppers because they thought things were going to go bad politically and all that other stuff too. So we may never. And if you think about it, when you go to church, a lot of people, oh, what's going on today means that Jesus is coming soon. Well, he's not back yet, guys. Okay, I believe Jesus is going to come back. I believe that there's definitely going to be some days, a day of reckoning, but he's not back yet. We are here. We are alive, and we've got families to take care of. So, like I said, history may not repeat itself, but it could possibly rhyme. Do I believe that this is going to be like an apocalyptic thing, or where we're going to go back into the dark ages? No, I really don't. I mean, even if we have a complete and total collapse of our government and the food situation goes to basically the worst it could ever be, I think there are too many of us in the United States that are old enough and have been trained enough to take care of ourselves. I lament for the people who live on government subsidies and these college kids that believe that people are going to take care of them for the rest of their lives and stuff. There could, if we have a pretty major collapse, we could have a lot of deaths. But I really still believe that we are still America. We are still able to take care of ourselves. There are enough of us that we're not going to have a complete and total collapse. We're going to, if the electricity goes down, somebody will figure out how to turn it back on. If the food chain completely collapsed, somebody will figure out how to do it. We are smart people. We no matter what you hear on the television, whatever, and radio and all that other stuff, we are Americans. We are resilient and we're smart, and we can get through this. But the more you prepare for the possibility, the better off you'll be if it does happen. Governments collapsed all the time. Is ours next? I don't know. And I'm not even going to speculate if it is or not. So, and the other governments that collapse, they keep going. Everything keeps going. Um, Even if there's not another Great Depression, what are you doing to prepare for your own SHTF, that where stuff hits the fan? Is there job loss? Is there major job loss, and your income gets dramatically cut? Is somebody going to come down with cancer in your family and you've got all those things? My ex-husband is right now sitting in a hospital waiting for a new heart. And I can't imagine what their hospital bills are going to be right after that, even now, because I don't know how long he's been in the hospital, but it's been a while. And he's on some sort of pump, and he can't leave the hospital until he either gets a new heart, or there's another thing that they may have to put him on. I can't remember what it's called right now, but the medical bills have got to be just outrageous for something like that. And I'm sure they planned for it and they're doing the best they can with it and everything, but that's a lot. It really is. So, I mean, and even if you're happily married now and stuff like, whatever, what if there is a divorce? What if your spouse dies? What is your SHTF situation, and what have you done to help get you through it? I've lived long enough and not prepared for things that, in cases of divorce or something like that, I've been caught flat-footed, and I have paid the price. And I am trying to. I think what I'm trying to tell you is I want you to not be caught flat-footed. Don't be caught flat-footed, or whatever the situation is, whether it is the next Great Depression or just your own personal catastrophe. Be prepared. And I'm not trying to do fear mongering here either. Okay, maybe we will go into a Great Depression, maybe we won't. But if you get prepared, and to the best of your ability, what's it going to hurt? Is it going to be money that you should have spent somewhere else? Probably not. So this series is going to be different ways to help you prepare for your if there is another Great Depression. There are some things, like especially if you're in a city, you're not going to be able to do this, but I'm still going to put the information out there, and to try to help you work your own way through it, to help you try to figure out what you can do, and do what you can with it. that is the what I wanted to talk to you about. These are not going to come out regularly. Well, I'm going to try to make them regularly, but there's going to be a lot of work and research and stuff in behind. I've already got a lot of breakdown of the different episodes that I want to do for it. This was just an introduction. I'm going to do a Are You Ready for the Next Great Depression series. That's all I got for you today. I pray that things are going well for you, and I will see you next time. And like I said, this is going to go out on this Grandma's Life podcast, both audio and video. And I believe I'm going to do some. I'm trying to do some little bit of editing and do some for Grandma's Homestead YouTube channel too. So I want to get the message out for you guys. I want you guys to be proactive in your lives on taking care of yourselves. All right. God bless, guys. I'll see you next time.